Hello world, it's Birdo Prey 5, Cuplaw, and welcome to my review and reaction for Star Trek Picard, Season 3, Episode 9, Vox. Oh boy, at the end of last episode, last week, we had the mysterious red door. They had yet to open it. They open it this week. Deanna Troi, we saw in the preview, ran away from whatever was behind the door, refused to tell Jack what was behind the door, something she promised she would never leave him alone. She left him alone. And in the numerous videos I've done, and so many other talented YouTubers have done in the week since, predictions, possibilities, what was behind the red door, I said with certainty, absolute certainty, whatever was behind the red door at this point could only be disappointment. And I think I was pretty close. Not to bury the lead, but obviously, if you're listening, you expect spoilers. What's behind the red door turned out to be the Borg. The Borg. Who would have thought the Borg are back? Again. Again, the Borg are back again for another season of Picard. In season 1 of Picard, there was a big Borg cube. In season 2 of Picard, the Borg Queen. And then New Borg. And in season 3 of Picard, the old Borg are back, even though, and I quote in this episode, I think Picard or Riker, one of them say, we haven't seen the Borg in 10 years. Last season the Borg were there. What are you talking about? But whatever. The old Borg are back, and they are angry. Anyway. I will say this episode vastly improved from last week. Last week, easily the worst episode of the season. This episode, easily the best episode of the season. And that is kind of hard to do, where episode 6, where they revealed the Fleet Museum, and we get that beautiful shot of the Defiant and the Klingon bird of prey from Star Trek 4. And we got Memberberry to Memberberry. We reached peak Memberberry in episode 6 between the Fleet Museum and Daystrom Station, where we got the body of James T. Kirk. We got attack tribbles. We got the Genesis device. The Genesis device. They found a second Genesis device, and they put it in the Daystrom Institute. Anyway, how could you get more peak Memberberry than the Genesis device? But this episode, oh man, I don't know if they went peak, but certainly as much. In all honesty, it's a good thing. I honestly do. It's called fan service for a reason. I'm the fan. I want the service. Thank you. Please. You know. They made it fit this week. I'm not saying that they just threw it at us. They made a cohesive enough story where I'm okay with the whatever you want to call them, member berries. So let's get started. we start this week's episode where we left off at the Red Door, and Counselor Troy is trying to talk to Jack about how there's nothing more elusive than a door that you don't want to open in your mind. They still are sitting there in her counseling session that feels more like a psychic session. Troy wants to get into his mind. She can feel his reluctance. She once again tells him that she will be with him. She won't be alone. She finally talks about the red vines. What are these vines? She's like, these vines seem like neurons. And that I thought was a bit of a stretch for her, or even him, to say that they seem like neurons. But okay, fine. Jack realizes what he's been thinking of, the vines. It was an arboretum that his mother took him there as a boy. It was an arboretum on some planet. There was all these flowers, and it was all beautiful. And there was a song, some song that was playing, a melody passed from my father to my mother to me. Now, I don't understand that, to be honest. Picard passed a song to Beverly. Oh, was it the mixtape? Was it in the very beginning of this season? We've heard Beverly playing a mixtape that Picard had given her. So Jack is saying the vines are all connected under the ground. And Deanna says, do you find that comforting? He says, no, not comforting. He finds it true. He finds it purposeful, perfect. As if anybody has yet to realize that this is the Borg coming up. Jack is basically saying he thinks the Borg are the true way. Everything connected underground. Deanna is saying, the truth is behind that door. Let me open it for you. I promise I'll be there with you. Never trust a woman, Jack. Never trust a woman. I love them. But man, if they're telling you, accept Mama Frey. Accept your own mother, Jack. Every woman will lie to your face, Jack, except your own mother. And some guys, unfortunately, don't even get that. So Deanna puts her hand on the doorknob very dramatically, turns the doorknob, which, to be honest, in Star Trek, I can't remember the last time I've seen a character turn a doorknob. Even closet doors open themselves. And Deanna opens the door, looks through the door, and she opens her eyes in real life. And she's like, I'm sorry. And she runs out of the room. She runs out of the room and leaves Jack there. Jack is like, what did you see? What did you see? She's like, I'm sorry. She leaves Jack behind. Why doesn't Jack follow her? I have no idea. Deanna runs over to Beverly and Picard, who are hanging out, I guess, down the hall. And she tells them what she sees. She opens the door, and now we finally see what she sees. Her face drops, and it's a Borg cube. A Borg cube sitting in space, in cloudy space, and it just says, we are Borg. We are Borg. Cue the opening Star Trek Picard screen. Literally behind the red door was empty space with a Borg cube. Part 9, Vox, with the little tilde over the O, which I can't possibly recreate on YouTube text. So Picard is hearing now in his mind, I am Locutus of Borg. Resistance is futile. Your life, as it has been, is over. They're just replaying Picard's old Locutus audio. Picard says that's impossible, and Beverly's saying he's never been assimilated, and Picard is like, he has no transmitters, no technology in his body, and Beverly's like, wait, biology, transmitters aren't always technological. Some transceivers and receivers are organic. That's how flocks of birds fly, and ants and insects. The entire swarms turn. They have some sort of biological transceiver. And he's like, no, it was aromatic syndrome. And Beverly's like, no, don't you see? You didn't have aromatic syndrome. The Borg gave you some type of biological transmitter. And Picard's like, oh, that makes sense now. That's why I could hear the Borg, right? Nobody worried, like in First Contact, and every time the Borg were nearby, Captain Picard could hear them. And I was like, even at the time, I was like, does that mean he still got a fucking Borg component you missed, Beverly? But as soon as the movie was over, everybody seemed to forget that he had telepathic communication with the Borg. Well, as it turns out, they should have been a little bit more suspect. They should have been a little bit more suspect. That communication was real, biological communication from Borg tech left in him that Dr. Crusher missed. Picard had to tell people he could hear the Borg. So I don't know why Beverly didn't say, maybe I should look back and see something else. And oh, by the way, yes, completely misdiagnosed. You misdiagnosed the aromatic syndrome. It was never aromatic syndrome. It was Borg changes. So at this point, I start thinking, and I know I'm overthinking, because I guarantee you it's never going to come up. It certainly hasn't come up in this episode. But in season 1 of Picard, there were thousands, maybe tens of thousands of Borgs being reclamated, the Borg Reclamation Project, where all of these Borgs were being de-Borgified by Romulans. And not you, H-U-G-H, the Borg from the Next Generation, you was there, and all these other Borg were there. And granted, they all mostly ended up dying when they opened the front door of the Borg cube, and so many got sucked out into space because new Borg can't live in space for some reason. Anyway, the point being is that if any of those Borg actually went home and managed to make a life for themselves outside of the Borg Reclamation Project, have they all been modified genetically? The Borg genetically modify. Apparently the assimilation isn't just technology. It's also genetically affects you, which is new. Okay, because rewriting your DNA, granted, it happens quite often in Star Trek, but it's not as easy to fix that, I would think. Although, what do I know? I would think it would be something hard to fix, but then we get episodes like Threshold, where, you can evolve into a lizard creature, but with a hypospray, the doctor can make you a human again, and you still got all your memories about the time you and your captain had lizard babies on a mysterious planet. Anyway, the point being, the Borg now also make genetic modifications, and even if you get all the Borg parts out of you, you're still Borg, apparently. Nobody noticed. So Picard is like, oh, we got to go help Jack. I'm the only person who can help him. And Deanna, in a rare case of logic, says, there are protocols. And Picard's like, protocols? What do you mean protocols? She's like, yeah, in case you didn't realize, he's like the most dangerous person in the galaxy right now. And I can't just let you go talk to him. And Picard's like, what do you mean? And yeah, Deanna actually has to stick to her guns. She's like, yeah, no, you can't just go talk to him. We've got to contact, we can't contact Starfleet, but we got to at least get some Starfleet security involved. And yeah, so Deanna's like, Vadic was searching for a weapon to use against humanity, and that weapon was your son. So we better be careful. She's like, you both saw him enter the minds of other people and control them. So, like, he's dangerous. Your son is dangerous. And Beverly and Picard look at each other like, oh shit, I think she might be right. So Jack, for some reason, has been standing in his quarters, walking back and forth, like waiting for somebody to come, and Picard comes, opens the door, he rings the doorbell, he's like, come on in. So Jack is asking him, what did she see? And Picard is like, Jack, there's so much. And he's like, just fucking tell me what she saw. I mean, he doesn't say it. He doesn't say the F word. Although, to be honest, if there was time to say it, it would be now. Anyway, he's mad at Counselor Troy. He's like, that former counselor, what did she see? And Picard's trying to explain. He sits down. And Jack is like, just tell me, what did she see in my head? And Picard goes off. 35 years ago, I was taken, assimilated, used to do terrible things, and I survived without scars, but not unchanged. I think Starfleet cleared him, but he was later diagnosed with what appeared to be Irumodic syndrome, which killed him. He did have it. I mean, he died, but he said that was a misdiagnosis. So your mother's a shitty doctor. The symptoms were just a side effect. And he's like, of what? And he's like, a seed. Something I passed on to you. And Jack is like looking down. He's very sad. He's like, because like a seed that took a generation to grow. And Jack is like, ah. And Picard says, the Borg. And Jack is like, that's quite an explanation. Like a life of disconnection just to realize he's what, a bee? Seeking a hive for a collective, for a queen? And Picard is saying, maybe subconsciously you are. He's like, Jack is like, so how much of me is really me? Well, all of you is you, Jack. You're just, that's the type of person you are. You were born to be a Borg. So now Jack is saying, oh, wait, okay. So Jack is saying he always knew the world was imperfect. Bigotry, violence, wars, suffering, poverty. And he always thought if people could be more, together, if people could see each other and hear each other, speak in one voice, act in one mind together, then everything would be better. What fucking planet did you grow up on, Jack? Because this is Star Trek, not 2023 America. Okay? in Star Trek, Earth is a perfect world. There is no poverty. There is no bigotry. There is no poverty, violence, hate. All that stuff shouldn't exist. It shouldn't exist in your world, Jack. What a disservice your mom did, making you grow. Although you went to school on Earth, Jack. You went to school on Earth. You went to school in England. That's where you picked up your English accent. So I refuse to believe that the entire Earth is perfect, except for jolly old England over there. I'm sure you didn't get beat up. So now Jack is like, cybernetic authoritarianism was the answer all along. He says the Borg don't feel, they don't care, but he does care. So how does that factor in? Picard is like, we got to take some precautions here. He's like, precautions? Picard's like, it's not just about you anymore, Jack. And he's like, what do you see? What do you see when you look at me, Dad? He doesn't say Dad. He says, damn it, look at me. And Picard says, I came close to killing everyone I knew. Everyone I loved. You didn't love anyone, Picard. It's like, you don't know what it is to be controlled by them. What she can make you do. Well, I think he might know. Picard's seen it with his own eyes. You've seen what you're capable of, Jack. You could take over minds. Uh-oh. There's a place. Oh my God. Oh my God. It's so fitting. Patrick Stewart, Professor Xavier, is telling Jack that there's a place he can be safe. An academy. He's going to take him to the X-Men Academy. I don't know. All I watch of the X-Men were the movies, so forgive me. I don't know the X-Men lore, what the name of the school is, but it's like Professor Xavier here is telling mutant Jack, oh, come over to the school I run. The school's on Vulcan, though. It's a school on Vulcan, and and Jack knows it. Keslovar. He says, it's no academy. It's an institution. A prison where they mind meld and lobotomize me. No thanks. They're going to lobotomize the Borg out of me. So Jack is like, no, this is a problem I can handle on my own. He picks up his phaser and he tries to leave the room, but outside his door are two yellow shirts, two Starfleet security personnel that I guess they finally found on the Titan, because every time else they should have been actual security doing things like last episode. Like, why was Geordi LaForge fighting shapeshifters? They should have been Starfleet security. So the two last remaining security guards on the Titan are outside Jack's door. Both are significantly bigger than him, and they've got their phaser rifles, and they're like, you're not leaving here, buddy. And Jack says, I was never getting out of here on my own, was I? And Picard's looking down at the floor, very sad. And Jack is like, hey, you said you'd never give up on me. And Picard's like, well, there's Starfleet protocols now that protect who? And he's like, who's protected? And he says, everyone else. Like, what about the protocols of a father? Asks Jack. You were never issued those protocols, were you? So Jack uses his mind trick. His eyes turn red. And then the two security officers, they now take orders from Jack. And they point their guns at Picard. And Picard's like, what is this? And Jack says, it's futility. Because now he's got to speak like a Borg. So now the security guards follow Jack around. Jack is taking control of their minds, and Jack leaves Picard in his quarters alone. And Beverly comes running up behind Jack and his two new security pals. And Beverly's like, no, Jack, come back. So he just lets the security guards deal with his mom. He says, where are you going, Jack? And he says, I'm going home. And Beverly says, we can find a solution. He's like, no, there's a voice in my head. I always thought it was your voice. It's her voice, their queen. He says, if she wants me, I'm going to trade myself for answers. I'm going to get close enough to show her exactly who I am. So Beverly's like, you're going to get yourself killed. Don't do this. But the security guards just hold her in the hallway. Jack runs onto a shuttle. And Jack has got to figure out where he's got to go. So he uses his Borg mind powers to figure out where is the Borg Queen. And the Borg Queen starts talking to him again, saying, Jack, find me. And I guess he knows what system they're going to. They specify a heading, just some random numbers. And then he turns off the shuttle transponder. And he leaves the shuttle bay of the Titan. And he goes into warp. And Picard and Beverly are at the window watching all this happen. Picard says he inherited the best of you and the worst of me. And Beverly doesn't say anything against that. Oh, Beverly says, I gave Wesley space. I gave Wesley space and I lost him to it. So I watched Jack closer and I still lost him. So close, I couldn't see what was right in front of me. What, that he was a Borg? Beverly says she's going to find a solution. Picard sits down. This is in the ready room, I guess. And he does a face palm. And Data comes in. Hey, Data. Is it time for some humor? And Data says, Captain. And he says, Data, were you able to track the shuttle? And of course, Data can't track the shuttle. The plot doesn't allow for that. And he says, no, we found nothing. Apparently, he turned off the transponder. Yeah, because of all the shuttles and all the ships you've tracked over the last 30 plus years, every time in TNG you tracked a ship, it wasn't because it had a fucking transponder. Okay, maybe try analyzing the tachyon pulses or look for ionized gas trails. Do fucking something, Data. Do something to remind me that you were a scientist, a science officer, that all these systems on these ships actually do something. No, he just says, I'm afraid we found nothing. The transponder's off. Oh, he's jamming the transponder. I can't do shit. Can't do shit, Cap. You're jamming the transponder. So he's like, well, can I say some words that might help you? And Picard's like, that's impossible. And Data's like, I know. So then Data, he puts his hand on Picard's shoulder. And Picard puts his hand on top of Data's. And they have a very, very awkward scene. And luckily, Geordi beeps in on the comm and says, we need you. You better get down to sickbay. There's more you need to know about Jack. Instead of telling him what it is, that's always you better come to sickbay. There's more we need to tell you. So Jack, after just vanishing off at warp, Jack apparently arrives wherever he was going immediately. The shuttle is back in space. Another nebula, another cloud in space with some lightning and thunder. And Jack is yelling, no, 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 no. This is exactly where you wanted to be, Jack. So he's yelling, show yourself. Why did you bring me here? And the computer is saying, uh-oh, tachyon radiation, neutrino emissions. And Jack says it's a wormhole. And the computer says negative. It's a transwarp conduit. And now the Borg Queen is talking to Jack, meant telepathically. And you see, there it is. There's the ship. The ship that was behind the red door. A Borg cube. Now it's a Borg cube, but it has antennas on the top. So it's weird. It's not a cube. It's not a perfect cube. Right? Before this, Borg cubes were absolutely perfectly cubed. You couldn't tell which was up, down, left, right. Well, these Borg cubes, they've got antennas on top. I don't know why. I would imagine because they have to transmit something like it's a 1980s television signal. So we go back to sickbay, and Geordi, for some reason, is now doing sickbay stuff. And it turns out that the Borg modify the DNA. Why is Geordi doing this? This should be a Beverly thing. So Geordi is explaining that the Borg modify the DNA of the people they assimilate, and new genetic code was written and stored inside him. Something they couldn't detect 35 years ago. See, the technology wasn't there 35 years ago. But now that it's 35 years later and technology has vastly improved, they can tell now that there was DNA adjustments that had been made to Picard, and Data is saying Dr. Soong noticed it. That's why they stored your body at the Daystrom Institute. So, listen, I know we shouldn't think about season 1 of Picard, but in season 1 of Picard, Dr. Soong took Picard's body, transferred his mind into the golem synth body, and then they buried his body. So you're telling me that Soong realized there was something different about Picard's body, let them bury the body, and then dug up the body after Picard left, like a month or 2 later. He dug up the body, and then he decided that he was going to take the body from the planet to the Daystrom Institute, or not Institute, Daystrom Station. None of this makes any fucking sense. Whatever. Data's like, it was dormant biological Borg adaptations. And now Worf needs a line. So they said, when Vadic stole the body, the changelings extracted the altered portion of your DNA. So Riker needs a line. He says, so Jean-Luc Locutus was some sort of receiver. And Data's like, yep, that's why you could still hear the voice of the collective even after he was deborgified. So Geordi is like, your son appears to be a receiver or a transceiver, a transmitter. He's able to send signals. That's why he can control. That's why he can control people. And he's like, how are people receiving the signals? And Worf is like, that we don't know yet. And Beverly is like, how could she have missed all this? And Picard's like, you're a testament that he made it this far. No, I think she missed it. So, okay, we actually get my theory. My theory turned out, I'm going to have to say, my theory actually turned out to be true. The big bad this season is not just the Borg. It is a Borg changeling alliance. And Beverly just says it right now. It turned out the changelings were working with the Borg. So a Borg changeling alliance, I'm going to go ahead and take that as I got it. I guessed it. It's not just the Borg. Now, don't get me wrong. The only thing behind the red door was the Borg. So that was a bit disappointing. The red door reveal was absolutely disappointing. But now we get confirmation the Borg and changelings were working together. And Worf tells us, and as we speak, all of Starfleet is gathered in one place. And he brings it up on the screen. The outcome of this entire conspiracy was for this exact moment. Today is Frontier Day. And they're all looking at each other. Beverly says we have to warn them. Like, warn them of what? And Picard says we have to warn them. Yep, absolutely. And he says, he says, this is Captain Picard, or Admiral Picard, to Captain Shaw. He says, Captain Shaw, we need to get to the Sol system immediately. And Captain Shaw is like, you want us to go where? The Sol system, where the entire fleet is gathered? Then they're all looking for us? And Picard's like, yes, that's where we got to go. And Shaw's like, of course we do. So, we zoom in now from, it was a pretty cool transition from the screens around Worf that showed space dock and all the ships. And we actually transitioned to space dock and the ships and the fireworks. Fireworks in space. And it's actually a pretty beautiful scene. And we've seen fireworks in space before in DS9. I believe it was the Explorers episode with the Bajoran sailing ship. The Cardassians shot off fireworks in space for them. And there were fireworks in Voyager too, but I think those were in the atmosphere. I don't think those count as space fireworks. Anyway, space dock. And we see NCC 1701F ready for ceremonial departure. To non-Trek fans, that's the Enterprise F. The Enterprise F is ready to leave space dock. Admiral Shelby in command. Admiral Shelby in command. Admiral Shelby from the Next Generation. Riker's nemesis. The Shelby came in for Best of Both Worlds. She thought she was going to become the new first officer of the Enterprise. Oh, we get a look at the Enterprise F. Oh my God. What an ugly Enterprise. Well, I don't know. Oh my God. It's ovalish with a double hull, a double neck connection. Oh, you know what? Excuse me. I've never seen the Enterprise F because I don't play Star Trek Online. So if this is the Enterprise F from Star Trek Online, I'm not sure. It's not a bad looking ship. It's not a bad looking ship. Unfortunately, it's being retired. Anyway, Admiral Shelby is saying 250 years ago, the first Warp 5 capable vessel, the NX-01. Oh, I would love if she starts singing. It's been a long road to get from there to here. No, she doesn't. She doesn't. She says the first Warp 5 ship constructed by human hands made its maiden voyage. With it a crew of 83 souls. You son of a bitch, Shelby. You son of a bitch, it was 84 souls. 84! Porthos has a soul. Porthos has a soul. You human monster. How you don't even... If Porthos doesn't have a soul, who's to say Dr. Phlox had a soul? Who's to say T'Pol? Well, I guess they have their Katra. But, son of a bitch. How dare. Very anti-Beagle-ish. You're now my least favorite admiral. Even worse than sheer fucking hubris. Anyway, she says, the Enterprise, the NX-01, they went on bravery, perseverance, sacrifice, a mission. And she said it would lead to the birth of what we know today as Starfleet. And we get some more pretty pictures, pretty fireworks in space. Counterpoint there, Shelby. I think you need to recheck your Federation history banks. Starfleet existed before the NX-01. Starfleet existed before the NX-01. What the NX-01 would come to create would be the Federation. The Federation happened because of the NX-01, not Starfleet. Starfleet existed before it. So this is the fuck up. This is a major fuck up in timeline and history. What they think that they should be promoting is Starfleet. What they should have been promoting was the birth of the Federation. But let's go back to look at some more pretty pictures of fireworks and the Enterprise F, which I don't know, probably will be my thumbnail for this. Oh, and then another firework went off, and we see the Borg cubes are back, and it's not just one Borg cube. I think it's multiple Borg cubes, dozens perhaps, as far back as the eye can see, all of them with antennas on top. That's a lot of transmitting power. And they're all in a nebula with space, with thunder and lightning. And Jack beams on to the Borg ship with his TOS-looking phaser. And he's looking around the corner. Not a single Borg anywhere to be found. The Borg Queen's voice is saying welcome, welcoming him on board. And we see the Titan at warp. And Admiral Shelby is still making her speech, saying we gather on Frontier Day to demonstrate our newest advancement, fleet formation. Oh, the USS Pulowski. Dr. Pulowski has a fucking ship named after her. And we see the entire fleet. Every, I don't know, but supposedly every Starfleet, every ship in Starfleet, in case of unthinkable incapacitation, the ships can all communicate with them from themselves. And Riker's like, I can't believe Admiral Shelby would do this, endorsing something. And Picard's like, she's endorsing something so Borg-like, the complete integration of the fleet, that the fleet will be able to communicate on its own, and that the Federation will never have to be afraid again because the fleet is completely automated. And 7 of 9 is looking at a tactical display, and there's dozens, maybe hundreds of Starfleet ships. And she's like, it looks like we're crashing one hell of a party. Picard says, we're out of time. How much longer? Sidney LaForge says, they're less than an hour away. An hour away? They seem much closer every place else they went. So, the Borg were closer to Jack Crusher. The Borg were closer to Jack Crusher's shuttle than Earth was to wherever they were, wherever the Titan just was. Jack Crusher found the Borg significantly faster than the Titan could get to Earth. And the Titan, which can go warp 9.999, no way the shuttle moves as fast as the Titan. But whatever. Captain Shore is like, well, what are we going to do when we get there? And we go back to the Borg Queen talking to Jack. She's like, you're my child, my flesh and blood. Jack is still trying to find something he can shoot. The Borg Queen says, for all the darkness, you're the light. You are life. And Jack says, I don't know what I am, but I know I'm not yours. And the Borg Queen says, no, you are mine. I've thought of so many names for you. Regenerati, Perdue, Perdai. And he's like, oh, you're fond of Latin. He's like, but I am neither your rebirth nor a child of God. So I guess that's what those things meant. And she's like, that's why you're Vox. Ah, it's the name of the episode. She's like, you're not Locutus, the one who speaks. You're the voice itself. Vox is voice in Latin, I guess. She's like, I know you felt it. You believe it. And Jack says, what I believe in is mercy, as he hands the phaser, as he aims the phaser at the Borg Queen. The Borg Queen is, we don't see a face. We just see the back of the Borg Queen. And she's hanging in the air from tentacles. And she's like, uh-oh, wait. She's like, I see in you what Vadek saw. An end. Vindication of both our species. To take everything back from those who live like shattered glass. So this is more proof that the changeling Borg conspiracy was real. I was correct. Hashtag Ferd was right. Hashtag Deej was not right, because Deej said it was just the Borg. So I was right. Borg. I called it Borg Changeling Alliance. So Jack is trying to shoot the Queen. He really wants to kill her, but he can't do it. And she's like, if it were possible for you to kill me, you would have already. So she's got special powers. He can't kill her. So Jack, the next thing you do is you kill yourself. You kill yourself. You aim the gun at yourself and you pull that trigger, man. I don't want to be somebody, I don't willy-nilly suggest suicide, mind you. But in this case, if you don't want to be used to commit evil and you can't kill the Borg Queen, then you shoot yourself. Okay, we saw it. We saw it in Star Trek II. And forgive me, but the captain, he couldn't bring himself to shoot Kirk. And he tells Khan, you've got everything you want. And Khan's like, I want you to kill Kirk. And he's like, I'm finding it hard to do so. And when he realized he can't fight his way, he was going to have to kill Kirk, he instead aims the phaser at himself and kills himself. Because that's what you do when you're in this impossible situation. But Jack doesn't do that because this is only episode 9. So the Borg Queen says, end your struggle, and offers him tentacles. And she says, resistance is futile. And this really scary looking Borg needle pops into the back of Jack's neck. Oh my God, the scariest Borg tentacle I've ever seen. This is a giant needle pushed into his body, and he doesn't even react. So back on the Titan, the computer starts going nuts, and Beverly is there, and she's reading it. And Geordi's, what is it? And she's like, we found something in the code that Rafi found on the Shrike. And they found Starfleet code. And Dax, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, Dax. Data says it's transporter code. And oh my God, you can see where this is going. They've implemented portions of Captain Picard's Borg altered DNA into the transporter system. And Beverly's like, wait a minute. Computer cross-references code with the transporter system of the Titan. And sure enough, it's there. This code is part of the transporter system architecture. And Geordi, the engineer, says, architecture? And Data's like, to simplify the process of millions of data points, the system stores coding in common within each particular species. No, Data, that can't be. Oh my God. They've just decided to destroy. Oh, for all that is holy. They just made the transporter system absolutely disgusting. The transporter system, it doesn't even make any fucking sense. It doesn't make any sense. They're saying to simplify transports, instead of beaming all of you back together, it stores common DNA. It stores common DNA. So it's not really you who beams back. Oh my God, everybody who hated the transporter, they were right all along. It's not you who gets beamed back. It's just mostly you. It's close enough. And they use some other people's DNA in there to fill in the gaps. It's Jurassic Park. Jurassic Park meets the transporters. Some lazy fuck. They couldn't be bothered. They couldn't be bothered to transport every single bit of you. So they use some common DNA. They just bring you back. So if you've ever been through a transporter, you now have Captain Picard's Irrimatic Syndrome DNA as part of your body. Oh my fucking God. The disgust. The absolute disgust I am in right now. It boggles the mind. It ruins transporters. It doesn't even make any sense. Like, what happens when you transport a desk? What happens when you transport an orange? What happens when you transport a beagle? Right? What happens when you transport gold pressed latinum? Does it use DNA for all that shit? It doesn't make one bit of sense. Oh, this is terrible. But anyway, so yes, that's why the transporters, anybody who's been through any Starfleet transporter in God knows how many years has been infected with Picard's DNA. It's common biology in the transporter system. So Beverly realizes that's what they've been doing. The changelings infiltrate starships to add Borg DNA into everyone who steps inside a transporter. Every person, every species. And Geordi says they've been assimilating the entire fleet the whole time without anyone ever knowing it. They've been assimilating the entire fleet without anyone even knowing it. They've been assimilating the entire fleet without anyone even knowing it. And then the Titan pulls up, and there's lots of fireworks in space. The Titan pulls up. Wait, The Titan pulls up to space dock. They were an hour away, and Admiral Shelby is still talking. Admiral Shelby is still talking, and Riker says, instead, this is going to be like a firing squad, and the Titans' computers have been commandeered. They're in fleet formation. So, right, the entire part of being on the same network, the Titan, they no longer have control of the ship. Oh, it's trying to commandeer. So Shore is saying countermeasures, and the bridge crew is saying, nope, they don't have countermeasures. We're going to lose all control soon. But Admiral Picard, I'm telling you a warning. And Commander Shelby is like, what the hell's happening? And Picard is saying there's a changeling infiltration of Starfleet. It's made us vulnerable to the Borg. And Shelby comes on the screen. And Picard's like, Admiral Shelby, I know this is going to sound crazy, impossible, but you must trust us. I hope you, and the connection was lost. Comms are down, and this loud whoosh is going along. Like, what is it? And the captain, they're picking up a massive energy spike. And Captain Shore's like, where is it coming from? And it appears to be coming from the Borg. Inside, I assume what's the Borg cube is this green circle spinning thing. I'm guessing all those antennas on all those Borg ships, which have to be relatively nearby, just sent a signal. And it's a loud screeching noise. And now we see Borg green is coming over the computer's screens. And 7 confirms it was a Borg signal. Data says it's a Borg signal. Okay, so judging by the signal and the data that Data has, the only people affected by this biology change are peoples whose brains were still developing. So Beverly says for human beings, it's age 25. So if you were 25 and younger, you've been assimilated, basically. An entire generation is assimilated. The frontal cortex stops developing. So that's why the old people are unaffected. Oh, it's going to be old versus young. Yes, the old farts are going to get a chance. What are they going to do? Are they going to shoot? Are they going to shoot to kill their kids? The youngest members of the crew are going to be affected. And Shaw calls for red alert. But oh no, the young ones are they're all turning around. They're being Borgified. So it's like nanoprobes are inside them. Their veins are all turning gray. But there's no Borg things coming out of them. Oh no, Geordi LaForge. Her face is turning gray. And her eyes turn black. Now, then her eyes turned white again. And Geordi LaForge says, we are the Borg. Oh no, Geordi. You gave birth to Borg kids. And they want computer locate Alondra LaForge. And the computer says, Alondra LaForge no longer registers as human. He didn't ask if she was human. He just says, locate her. Why did you volunteer that information? So the computer knows where she is. It's just, oh, by the way, your daughter's not human anymore. And she appears to be where everyone else is, on the bridge looking. She's turning around. So Shelby is still on, and she's like, what's happening to my crew? They're turning on us. And Shore's like, what's going on? Shelby is saying, we're under attack from within. The communications come out. Oh no, they killed Admiral Shelby. So all the young people in Starfleet have turned into Borg. And all the young people are taking over all the ships. The revolution has begun. Viva Revolution. The young people are killing everybody over 30. Oh my God. The young people are killing the old people. The cutoff is 25 years of age. If you're 26, it's time to die. And if you're 25, you're part of the new Borg army. I love it. I love it. Is this actual social commentary? Did Terry Matalas intend to make social commentary? Is that what he did? I mean, did he, or is this just my brain putting this together? Like, is the Borg intended to be social media? Is the Borg intended to be TikTok and social media, and all the young people, their brains being influenced by one thing, and it's time for the older people to save everybody from themselves, to save everybody from technology? I don't know. I'm honestly asking, because I could see that. That would be a genius fucking move. So all over the fleet, you hear that the fleet's in shambles. It's the revolution has happened. Picard says everyone's being assimilated. And now on the Titan, all the young people are looking at the old, and they're all saying, eliminate the unassimilated. Eliminate all unassimilated. Oh my God, like honestly, this is it. This is what's happening in real life. Anybody who's drank the Kool-Aid, you know what I mean. They're all like, eliminate the unassimilated. This is it. This is Timcast IRL's Civil War. It's here in Star Trek form. So Geordi's like, I gotta go save my kids. But his old friends are like, it's too late. It's too late for your kids, Geordi. We gotta leave here. We get somebody walking up, and I don't know what her name was, but the young girl who Vadic almost shot, who was crying last episode, she's now captain of the Titan. And she says to the collective that they have the Titan. Dun, dun, dun. So now Riker and Picard and Seven. It's like, why didn't they come for us? And Seven's like, because of all the gray hair. And they've got to get to deck 4. And every time that the turbo lift door opens, there's a whole bunch of young crew members shooting at them. And Picard has to remind stun only. Stun only. So while they're in the turbo lift, there is a incoming communication from another ship, the Excelsior. The Excelsior, the Excelsior was the one ship that had all the old people. And oh no, the Excelsior is being attacked. Oh my God, we're getting a whole bunch of starship names. A whole bunch of starship names are on the turbo lift door. Okay, maybe not the door. The back of the turbo lift has a full computer screen. And we're seeing the USS Hikaru Sulu, and the USS Cochrane, and the USS Luna, and the USS Intrepid. And they're all firing on the USS Excelsior. And what else? We have the USS Clark, the USS Firesword, the USS Magellan, the USS Venture, the USS Ross. Is that for Admiral Ross? The USS Drexler. the USS Gilgamesh, the USS Mandel, the USS Resnick, the USS Trumbull, the USS Okuda, the USS Oberon, and the USS Torganu. It's off screen. I can't read it. Whole bunch of ships. And they're all being fired. The Excelsior is destroyed. The Excelsior gets destroyed. Rest in peace, USS Excelsior. Excelsior eliminated. All vessels secure. Fleet-wide assimilation complete. And Seven's like, how are they broadcasting over comms? And Shaw goes into engineer mode. It's channel 99 Bravo. He's like, oh, let's computer change destination. Let's go to the maintenance deck. What the fuck is the maintenance deck? He says there's nobody posted down there, no guards, no drones. And Shaw's like, and there's maybe a maintenance shuttle. It'll be there way off the ship. So Picard then tells everybody on the ship where they're going. He says, okay, everybody head to the maintenance deck immediately if you can make it. If you can hear this, head to the maintenance deck immediately. We're getting off the ship. What the hell was the point of going to someplace nobody was if you're going to tell everybody where you're going? Now the Borg Collective, not the Borg Collective, all the Starfleet ships, we've got, oh my God, dozens and dozens of Starfleet ships are flying around Earth and saying, you're weak. All your weak will soon be eliminated. They're going to kill all the old people. This is it. This is the final battle between young and old. It says, your strongest have already been assimilated. We are Borg. And these Starfleet is now Borg. Starfleet now is Borg. And hundreds of ships have surrounded Earth. And they get off, the Picard and them get to the maintenance deck. And Geordi, Data, Beverly, Rafi, Deanna, and Worf are already there. And they take their phasers out. And this is where Deanna says, I've never been happy to see so many wrinkles. And it's Seven, Riker, and Picard, and Shaw come out of the turbo lift. And Beverly says, we need to all get off this ship. Riker's like, and where? And Data's like, well, the shuttles are autonomous. They don't have the auto fly, whatever. So Worf is like a single shuttle against an entire fleet. And Geordi's like, no, I've got a better idea. And Worf says, incoming. And now everybody on the ship is coming to kill them. So they're shooting back for the first time using stun. So Seven, Rafi, and Worf and Shaw are fighting off the people coming. And Geordi says, we got to get, I hope she's still there or whatever. And Data's like, what makes you think there hasn't already been destroyed? And Geordi's like, Data, can't you be a bit more positive? And Data says, I hope we die quickly. I guess that was supposed to be a joke. So Shore tells Beverly and Riker to go, and Worf and Rafi. And Shaw now tells Picard to go. Shaw, oh no, Shore got shot. Shore got shot, and Seven, he's dying. Seven runs, and Seven tells Picard to go. And Picard says, I'm not going without everybody. And Rafi says, you heard him. You heard her go. So Rafi stays with Seven. Oh no, Shaw is dying in Seven's hands. He's going to say it. He's going to say 7 of 9. He's going to call her 7 of 9 before he dies. He says, it's not my ship anymore. It's yours. You have the con. 7 of 9. Oh, what a sad ending for Captain Shaw. Honestly, they killed Captain Shaw. They killed Captain Shaw, but not before he made up to 7 by using her name. I'm a little sick. Like I'm throwing up a little. First, I'm really upset they killed Captain Shaw. I mean, he's dead. Sure, he could come back next episode. Like, oops, I misdiagnosed him. He wasn't quite dead. But I guess they left him. The shuttle leaves. Did 7 get on the shuttle? I don't think 7 and Rafi made it on the shuttle. So now the Borg are attacking Space Dock? Why would you attack Space Dock? You obviously took over Space Dock like you took over all the ships. So now they're saying target planetary defenses. What planetary defenses? Nobody shoots. We see all these ships menacingly approach Space Dock, but nobody shoots. So now we see the shuttle, the maintenance shuttle, and they're approaching the Fleet Museum. And Picard says, the Fleet Museum? Geordi, why are we here? It's like that we're supposed to believe that they've been standing around for an hour or 15, however long, Worf, Riker, Beverly, Deanna, Data are literally standing in the back of a shuttle with Geordi and Picard sitting down driving. And at no point did they discuss where they were going. This is the first time they drop out of warp. And Picard's like, Geordi, why are we here? And Geordi's like, we need a ship. Something older. Analog. And Riker's like, so we can use one of these ships? And Geordi's like, oh, I was saving this. But there's no time like the present. I was saving it for episode 10. But you know what? We're almost at the end of episode 9. So there's no time like the present. To absolutely no one's surprise, guess what's inside the Fleet Museum space stores? It is and Picard leans in. He can't believe his eyes. And it's the lights turn on. And we see it's the 1701D, the saucer section. Oh, it's got a star drive too. And Picard says, the Enterprise D. But how? And he looks at Geordi. He's like, thank the good old Prime Directive. The saucer was retrieved from Veridian III, so as not to influence the system. He's been restoring it bit by bit over the last 20 years. The engines and the nacelles come from the USS Syracuse. And Data says, strange, seeing it makes me feel. And he can't answer. And Deanna says, you're not the only one, Data. And then Geordi says, obviously, we can't use the Enterprise E. And everyone looks at Worf. And Worf says, that was not my fault. And that's it. They're never going to bring up the Enterprise E again. And Riker says, she's beautiful, Geordi, beautiful. And Worf says, will she fly? And Geordi says, what do you think, Admiral? And he says, oh yes, she'll fly. Picard says she'll fly. And what did they do? Did they beam into the turbo lift? So they get out of the turbo lift onto the bridge of the Enterprise D. All the lights are off. So they give a command to power up, and all the bridge consoles come on. The lights very slowly come up. And they're all on the bridge of the Enterprise D again. I got to tell you, It's a perfect recreation, best I can tell. Okay, not perfect. I don't know what the hell is up with the view screen. Other than the view screen, it's a damn near perfect recreation of the Enterprise D. Certainly close enough. Certainly close enough. They're all standing there dumbfounded. And Riker says, is the bridge smaller or is he bigger? And Deanna says it's exactly how she was. Worf says he prefers the Enterprise E. It has better weapons. And Deanna's like, Worf, come on. And he's like, it's perfect, Geordi. And Picard goes over to the USS Enterprise dedication plaque. And Data goes to his old chair. And he touches it. And then he pulls his hands away. He says, are you sure she's not tore into the Federation mainframe? And Geordi says, nope. She's the last ship in the fleet. The last functional ship in the fleet. And Picard realizes what he's missed most. The carpet! That was actually a funny joke. I chuckled. So, Geordi's got drones loading torpedoes. Geordi has drones loading torpedoes as we speak. Why would there be torpedoes in the Fleet Museum? Why would Geordi have active warheads in the Fleet Museum? Whatever. So the computer identifies Picard as Captain Picard. So Picard's like, I accept the demotion. So Picard's like, I feel it hard to ask you guys to do more. And Riker's like, this is the crew. This is the crew of the USS Enterprise. And your family. We go where you go. And Deanna says, and Sydney and that other one, they're also family too. So now Picard calls Riker number 1 again. And he tells everybody to get to stations. And Beverly says all systems online for some reason, because I guess she needed a reason to say something. Worf takes tactical. Riker says, if we encounter the Borg, we're going to need to run, shoot, and hide. And Geordi's driving again, like he was in season 1. Data's at his old seat. Mr. Data set a direct course for Earth. Maximum warp. And Riker and Deanna are on the seats on either side of Picard. And he says, engage. And we get this shot of the Enterprise E and a planet, whatever planet the Fleet Museum is in orbit of. It looks like Earth, but it's not Earth. And the Enterprise D goes to warp. End of episode. So, okay, this was a quick one. It says it's 47 minutes long, but that's 44 minutes in, and we've already hit the final credits. There was probably 2 minutes of previously on. So this was like a 42-minute episode. It did go by very fast. Compared to last week's, it went very fast. But you know what? I think it was a good pacing. Honestly, it would have been a lot better had they combined last week's and this week into one shorter episode. I don't think we needed much of what we saw last week, but I'm actually a bit surprised. I would say that the final story came together as well as it did. That said, though, it is unforgivable, and I will never be able to get past the fact that they want me to believe the transporter uses common DNA to make transporting easier. It doesn't make any fucking sense. It is disgusting. Nobody would use a transporter. If you were told what comes back out on the other side has DNA from other people mixed in to make it easier, I like, fuck you. No, I'll take a shuttle. There is no way they built the transporter like that. It boggles the mind. It boggles the mind. That said, other than that very large problem, I mean, it's easily the biggest problem with the whole season is the fact that you want us to believe transporters work this way. They could have found some other way to hide it, but they wanted to make it seem like, oh, transporters do this normally. No, it makes no sense. Other than that, though, it was a pretty solid episode. And the fact that it was, as I predicted, a changeling Borg alliance, and it wasn't just the Borg, and it wasn't just the changelings, I'm happy. Now, they have not yet explained, and I'm starting to think they never will, who that guy was or whatever. I guess next week we got to find out who the face was. Who was the face that Vadic was communicating with? That's really the only big mystery. Also, I guess, is how the hell is one ship? How the hell is one ship going to defeat the Borg? Obviously, we have Jack Crusher on the Borg, with the Borg Queen. So I'm guessing that Jack Crusher is going to somehow overpower the Queen and take control of the Borg and make the Borg benevolent. Also, we should just completely absolutely forget about the new Borg, because at the end of season 2, Geordi became the Borg Queen, and she started a new Borg fashion. They're gone. They don't exist. For whatever reason, they don't exist anymore. Don't think about that. They're not coming to the rescue. My guess is Jack Crusher will somehow take over the Borg, that they'll then be able to use it to de-Borgify Starfleet. And obviously they do, right? Because we can't be afraid that, Starfleet loses. I mean, even if we thought, Jesus Christ, what if they did lose? Well, we know they don't, because, and I hate to say it, but Star Trek Discovery still exists in this timeline. And Star Trek Discovery went 1,000 years in the future, and Starfleet and Earth still exist. So we know the Borg never take over. There's really not even the least hint of doubt that this could possibly all lead to one terrible, awful ending where the Borg take over the Federation. Because we know they don't, because Discovery went so far in the future. So once again, Starfleet Discovery fucks it up for everybody. This episode, I know the people who hate the show are going to think I'm being too nice, but I enjoyed this particular episode. I did. The transporters is a problem. This transporter is a hard problem to reckon, but the thought that there might be something bigger here, that there might be social commentary on an entire generation growing up with technology, the likes of which we can't comprehend, and that might actually be bad, that it might be a bad thing. If they continue with that into episode 10, that might be brilliant. It might be brilliant. It might not be. But I gotta say, a little hope restored for episode 10. I'm gonna give this episode a 7. I guess it's an 8. I guess it's an 8 out of 10. Like I said, this was my favorite episode to date, so I think it's an 8 out of 10. Oh well, guys, we'll see. I'll look for my nitpicks video coming out at some point this weekend, and one more episode to go. We'll see you a week from now. Kapla all, bird out.